Okay, guys, this is Gracie and Gracie Phoenix, and she's in Denver, Colorado. And we are going to talk about today, we're going to talk about the subject of narcissism. And we already actually began this, having a good chat about it, so we know where we're at on this.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to address how we heal it. We're not going to go from the angle of it like going, he's a narcissist, she's a narcissist, because it's overwhelming in society, and that we have something called Watiko as well, which is the the American Indian belief system of that there is a virus of selfishness in this world, which is partly narcissistic. So I know that I've definitely through trauma have had narcissistic responses and narcissistic wounding as well from childhood, which I've had to look at and take on board. Gracie, do you want to tell me a bit about what you know about narcissism and what you think of what does it mean to you?
Well, I think narcissism, like we mentioned earlier, narcissism and the word narcissist is becoming so widely used and so incorrectly used and so like misdiagnosed, and also just it's becoming used like in vain, kind of like the word love, where you just say it just to say it because it sounds good. It's just like, no, everybody that's narcissistic is not necessarily a narcissist. And that's where some people are kind of getting confused. And there's so many people, I've even been called a narcissist. I'm like, okay, I will not even go ahead and defend myself on that one. I'm gonna let that ride. You got that. All right, you win that argument, bruh. So, so the word narcissism and narcissism has been so like commonly used now as
misused as well. And where people are pointing the finger, and so and I always say this, like when we point a finger at, there's always three coming back to us, like when we point a finger at somebody. So, and the point is that with this problem in society, it's not that, it's about the healing. How do we deal with it? Yeah, and particularly for for the women that have children, it's like, how do we deal with it that we're not passing this baton of narcissism?
And especially the co-parenting, the co-parenting people who co-parent with narcissists. I mean, I have to co-parent with I mean, like you said, we're not pointing the fingers, but I think you had asked me a question earlier, and as far as how did I recognize narcissism and how did I come to
how did you come to understand narcissism? And for me, it was about 5 years when I got sick of spirituality not helping me and heal those early wounds. Because again, in spirituality, I would almost look at that there's grandiosity and narcissism in it, because what a lot of people are doing in the spiritual community are telling people to let it go. So if you've been really violated,
oh my God, that's all it is, let it go.
So you'll hear that you chose it, you chose your parents. So
you're allowing it, you're accepting it. Oh my God.
And just all you've got to do is let it go and surrender it to a higher power. And why didn't you tell anybody? And so there's all of these belief systems, and even in religious belief systems, that we've got honor thy mother and father. Now, really some of these are hardcore belief systems that are way outdated in the society that we live in.
And I mean, they were outdated back then. They weren't even, that was a narcissistic person who made the Bible and wrote the rules, because we have to submit to a man. We got to submit to our husbands. I mean, are you kidding me? If I'm supposed to submit to God, how am I supposed to submit to a man? That doesn't make any sense. That's contradictory.
Well, in astrology, because I am in part an evolutionary astrologer, and the symbolism of Lilith, when we look at Lilith in astrology, she was thrown out of the Garden of Eden in the mythology because she refused to lay below Adam.
Yes.
And also the rib, which is really interesting, that the woman came from Adam's rib.
Sorry, you know what? I've been talking about that lately too, and I have some words to say on that concept right there. I gave birth to 4 kids. Okay, I never seen no man give birth to a baby. So I wish. Oh my God, these men are.
There are some good men in this world as well. I do know some good men. So
my father was a good man, but I mean, I'm just saying. But I mean, everybody. I mean, it's just
patriarchy.
Just society, the way society views the man as being this higher being, or this,
I agree.
It's ridiculous.
I agree. And I think what's unfortunately happened now is that, and I heard Sam Vaknin talk about this the other day, that unfortunately there's a war between men and women. It's almost we're becoming narcissistic towards each other, even though we're not maybe narcissists, like, but we're becoming narcissistic towards each other, and it's almost like this sort of underlying hatred bubbling there in the ocean of, you know, of the psyche of, you know, and it's, you know, we need to rectify this, because all of the children that are coming through need, you know, they need guidance, and we're the creators for them, you know, that of what they're seeing and what they're hearing. So, you know, there's a lot here. So we've got the belief systems, we've got the, ultimately narcissism has got to be about healing and not going on. Sam Vacklin did quite rightly say, I've listened to him for a good year now. I've listened to others, but I do find that what pleases me with him is that he's a professor on the subject. So I do feel that I feel comfortable with him, because he's not just saying, you know, go no contact and do this, and he's being realistic with the issue
from a mental health aspect as well.
Yes, because I know that when I used to drink on my childhood trauma, I was a late starter. I didn't start drinking alcohol till I was 30, and recreational drugs for a while. And I stopped when I was 37, any recreational stuff. But definitely, you know, recreational drugs can bring up narcissistic behavior in people, and alcohol also. And thankfully, I'm completely free of that now. So I'm not judging people who drink, because some people can handle it. But for me, I think.
Right here.
Sorry?
Like I said, I got my wine right here.
Yeah, so on the trauma, but when somebody's been heavily traumatized and they're using it, then it's, you know, if somebody gets triggered, they can fire off the handle as being, in part, you know, appear like a narcissistic injury, a response of, and then when they calm down, they're not, they, ultimately, it seems that what Sam is saying as professor is that ultimately a true, you know, the psychopath and the no empathy and the deep sadism is, you know, I think that is rare in society, but we've got to catch ourselves when we're being a bit narcissistic. And as I said to you earlier, I found that as I was growing through understanding my own narcissistic responses, I'd watch myself when I'm speaking to utility companies, where I used to be a bit of a, you know, a bit of a bitch and a bit of a, you know, sort of feelingless, you know, treating them. I've stopped doing that. I catch myself, say, come on, Pen, you know, it's like they're human beings on the end of it.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I've done that too. And I mean, like we said earlier as well, you know, because of, I mean, partly because of all of the invalidation and the defending yourself all the time, and the fighting and the arguments and just the roller coaster ride. You're so low on energy, so low on fuel, so low on patience. Your patience is about this thin, and you've had it up to here, your cup is empty. So when you talk to somebody, especially if you're not getting any help from them, you start getting more and more frustrated, because you're just like being reminded, it's a trigger of arguing with your narcissist, not getting through to him and not getting anything that you need from him. And it's not the narcissist you're talking to, you're just not getting what you need. But
also,
it's not the same person.
In reality, there are going to be some people that we're dealing with who have got that power and control, and in, you know, maybe government body or whatever, who are going to be narcissistic with us. So we've got to be savvy enough to know which is which, the difference. Like, you know, so sometimes we do have to stand up for ourselves and say, hey, you know, I'm, you know, and I think in politics, I mean, you've had a really rough time out there. You've got astrologically wise, America's got something called the Pluto return coming up, which is huge, which we won't talk about today, but you know, you're going through a huge healing as a collective. In the whole world is COVID really is helping us to deal with the real underlying problems, because we've all been sent inward to look at our wounds. I mean, I've got no idea. Go on. Go for it.
For the last, what is it, year? I mean, I've been like kind of in hermit mode for the last 5 years. I mean, I've emerged every now and then when I want to and stuff, but I mean, for the most part, I've just been soul searching, and I'm hiding from everybody. And then with COVID happening, that gives me an excuse to not have to go out. I'm like, thank you, because I didn't want to go out anyway. So it's really, I mean, unfortunately, there's, you know, a lot of tragedy around it. My father actually passed away from, you know, the complications with COVID as well. But I'm just saying, so I mean, on a lighter note, I mean, it's giving me time to where I don't have to, it's giving me an excuse to not have to go out and to work or to do anything, you know what I mean? Because everything being shut down and stuff like that, I mean, what can you do? All you can do is sit alone with your thoughts.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I've been needing to do without having to make an excuse for it.
And it's been very useful to me as well, because I don't feel, you know, I generally don't feel that comfortable, you know, I wasn't feeling comfortable in the world. So when people are saying at the moment that, you know, getting back to normal, it's like we're knocking out a huge level of narcissism at this time, because, you know, people are, you know, funnily enough, I was going to go off to California this time last year, and I had COVID for 5 weeks, and I hadn't bought a new handbag for years, right? So I bought a Furla handbag. It was 300 quid handbag, right? So I went and bought this handbag, but I've never used it, right? But the interesting thing is, it's like I've realized how little I need so this also is wiping out our own narcissistic little selves in us, where, you know, just to be that simple and just to not have to show off. Like, how many people who've got the car, who've got this, who've got that, and, you know, and we're all having to mask up.
Yeah, and I mean, I got my nose ring and stuff, and I'm like, I can't even show my nose ring. It's annoying. I'm like, oh God. But yeah, I know what you mean, because I mean, I have so many clothes that I bought, I haven't even had a chance to wear yet. I'm just like, whatever, I'll wear them when I need to. I'll wear them when the time comes.
Yeah. And metaphorically, if we look at that whole mask thing, if we look at the mask, the idea that we
think about that.
And then we've been told, so really we're being made to force mask in order to remove our masks metaphorically.
That is deep. You went deep on that. Oh my God, you went deep. That was a good one. I didn't even connect that. That never made the connection. Wow, that was that gave me something else to think about. Don't do that. I have too much up here.
So it's really and also that I think what's happened is, and we see this in evolutionary astrology, is that what's unconscious needs to be brought to the conscious. So how does that happen? You know, we have either a trauma, or we have, you know, we're either going to be pushed into it, or we're going to have to come to it in a uniform fashion of saying, hey, you know, looking at ourselves. But most of us, and I know myself, my best growth began to happen when I had a breakdown in 2016. I lost a business that I was turning over, you know, 400K a year. I lost, you know, I had to have a re-contact with a parent who was part of my abuse, and that was very re-traumatizing for me. So I think that for many people, hopefully, you know, there's going to be some real suffering in this period. So some people are going to be seeing the worst side of narcissism. And I'll give you an idea. I know I'll let you get in there. But last week, a few weeks ago in the UK, we had a young woman who was wiped out, use my words carefully, by a police officer, and her body was found in builder's bag. This is not a nice story. In a part of London, the police officer was arrested a few days before, apparently, and then there was a big vigil in the UK, and the police force then got involved and stopped. You know, they were telling people to go home because they're not allowed to congregate at the vigil because of COVID. So there's some narcissism going on where we're being so restricted and told what to do, you know, and I'm seeing, and then even with the idea that everybody has to have a vaccine. I'm not taking part in the vaccine. This is my own choice. You know, so I'm not arguing with anybody but again, the narcissistic views of what we should do, and, you know, the sadism around that as well, and the narcissistic views of what that we've all got to follow along and do as are told. This is in part narcissism to me.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Told, you know, otherwise you can't be part of society.
Yeah, I get it, because I mean, even walking into the you know, the stores, convenience stores, or, you know, supermarkets, it's like I always forget to take my mask. Because I'm just not used to it. I mean, and it's been a year, but I'm still not used to it yet.
Yeah.
So, like, I always have to remember to grab the mask, and it's like, if I don't do it, are they gonna let me in? You know? I never really. I mean, one time I didn't even have a mask, and I was like, oh, I'm not even going to bother going to the store because I don't even want to get embarrassed. I don't even want to hear them say, you can't come in. So I'm just like, yeah.
So I think where we're at, I mean, what I want to do is share something on the which will be useful just for people that are not aware. I'm just going to share this screen for a minute, and I'm going to go back here. So when I was talking about the fight flight briefly, you see up here that if on your screen, these are trauma responses. And briefly, we've got the fight. We go into fight. This is our narcissistic response. Like, so somebody's been through trauma, it's going to go in, if they go into the fight mode. So I used to spend quite a lot of time in fight, because through sexual violation as a child of 12 years, I was very, when I started to become aware, there was a lot of anger in me. There was a lot of, you know, I was very angry that I'd been through that.
I was irate.
I was so.
I was pissed.
Yeah. So, and the thing is that when we're children, where there's no awareness there, you know, we're under narcissistic rule. We're being told what to do. You know, the people that are doing that are either, you know, they're sadists, narcissists. They're, you know, and it's a dangerous game as well, because, you know, if a child cries out, you know, their lives could be, you know, inflicted, horrible things can happen.
Right.
You know, so the fight response of being angry has been very useful to me to a degree, but then it stopped. You know, at some point I had to get my anger under control. So there's a certain amount of healthy anger that we need in order to start, you know, evolving the trauma of CPTSD. Do you have complex PTSD in America, or do you just call it CPTSD?
It's PTSD here. I mean, I don't think they really honed in on CPTSD yet. I literally just got diagnosed with PTSD, and I wasn't going to say it, but I mean, now that we're here, I might as well go on and say it. I got diagnosed with PTSD a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that was, for me, that was the air that it gave me air. It gave me.
It's like you come up for air, because then it's like
I'm not tripping. Okay, I'm not tripping, you know, so that's how I felt when I found out about that. I was like, okay, good. At least I have somebody that sees what I'm going through and recognizes that this is not normal.
Validation. And if we don't validate this in society, then we don't, you know, we're not dealing with it. So the validation is really important. And I've never seen myself as a victim, even though I've been through that. I believe that Sam Backlin, I heard a video yesterday where he said, I've been victimized, but I don't see myself as a victim. I don't. Again, it's another overused word. So with the fight, we have the anger outburst. We can feel like we're controlling, you know, the bully can come into it, and it can appear narcissistic, and there can be explosive behavior. So we can understand that people who've been through abuse sometimes may appear that they are narcissistic, but it's actually a narcissistic response and not pure narcissism. So this is why people are educating.
Oh, this is really, I really like this what do you call this slide? This is really cool. I need to send this to a lot of people. This is dope. I mean, this is like some therapy stuff, you know. It's like, do you have a doctorate degree or something? No, for real.
No. But this was from the book, when complex PTSD from surviving to thriving. So then we've got the flight response, which I've spent a lot of my life in, which is, you know, workaholic, overthinker, anxiety, panic, OCD. I've spent years in OCD. I've got a little bit of OCD left, thankfully, but not over. It used to be chronic. That difficulty sitting still, and perfectionism, like feeling I couldn't, you know, do things unless I was perfect, because, you know, as a child that's been through, when we go through abuse of any sort, and what that perfectionism is thrown onto us, or that we think that the reason that we're being abused is because we're not perfect and we're not good enough. So we play that out in our adult relationships, which then can be like some sort of narcissistic control.
That's how I've seen that happen. I mean, I didn't have that problem, but I've seen it happen with people growing up. And I mean, I won't name anybody, but I've seen how that people pleasing, it's not even people pleasing, but that OCD, trying to be perfect and ending up, you know, kind of falling short all the time, can make you, like, you know, controlling or explosive, you know what I mean? Make you just kind of like.
Absolutely. And so there is healthy anger, and people talk about this. So in his book, and I don't want to, you know, because I don't want to, you sort of, because you said oxymoron, like there's healthy.
I mean, for real.
As a kid, he'll say that there's a healthy type of narcissism, but I don't want to touch on that today.
Oxymoron. Whoever said that is, I'm sorry, but you need to rearrange the wording. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the context.
Exactly. Agree.
Healthy narcissism. I mean, a narcissist is a devil. That's like saying that's a healthy devil.
I will show you something in a minute that might, with the narcissist, that mythology, which is interesting as well. But I agree with you. I mean, I had to think about that when I
thought it was just me, because I'm like that. I mean, I hear so many people walking around here saying healthy narcissism, or, you know, that there's a healthy form of narcissism, and I'm like, oh no, there's a healthy form of confidence. Confidence and narcissism are completely different.
Yeah. We have to rearrange that. And actually, so we have to be careful how we use words. I agree. So then we can have freeze, the difficulty with making decisions, stuck, disassociation, isolating and feeling numb. So I definitely go into that. I've been in that period of my life as well. I'm out of that now. The fawn I've also released, which was people pleasing, lack of identity, no boundaries, overwhelmed and codependent.
Do you know what a codependency looks like? What a codependent person looks like?
Okay, so codependency is that I don't want to lose you, so I'm going to do whatever I need to do in order to keep you in my realm.
I don't have that, thank God. Okay,
yeah.
I wanted to make sure, because I may have come off codependent with my ex narcissist, but that's because he's a narcissist. He made me rely on him and depend on him, so that codependency came out, but I don't have that
as a reaction too. Yeah,
I don't care, bye. I'm like, for me it's like he was a person that I couldn't just walk away from, and it was really weird. He's the only person in my entire life that I've never been able to just walk away from. I mean, you're talking about girls, boys, friends, family members, whatever. Like, I mean, walking away from somebody has never been a problem. Once I see enough red flags and once I see enough abuse or whatever the case may be, I'm like, I'm out. I don't have time to sit around here and try to figure this out. But with him, I guess there was some codependency there because of the reaction was codependency, but that's not something that I hold. I'm not a codependent person.
And I think I've grown out of that recently as well, and it's it's helpful to see when we also as children, when we're stuck in this with the fawning, like because children who go through abuse, like any type of abuse, will somehow think that they have magical thinking, and so they will split their personality, and they won't they will do what needs to be done to stay safe or to be loved. So they will people please as kids in abuse, and that can be a habit in adult life. I'm going to come out of this because I'll come back to that, because that's Sam. But we've got here this book as well, which is Women Who Love Too Much, which doesn't mention the word codependency, but it's really helpful to understand the dance that we play that keeps narcissistic abuse going. Right. So I know that I've chosen people wanting to be loved, having not been loved, that sometimes I've put people on a pedestal, which is the shared fantasy. And the shared fantasy is quite narcissistic, because when people don't then play out the shared fantasy you want them to play out, then
what if the shared fantasy could be, because the shared fantasy, obviously we all want something. We all have dreams and hopes of something, or a fantasy of something, or idolize something. But if a narcissist or someone toxic comes into your life and mirrors you, how can the shared fantasy be narcissistic?
How can mirroring you?
Yeah, if they're mirroring you, that doesn't make sense.
Well, I think maybe what happens is that if sometimes people are okay in some types of relationships. I think the main defining factor is going to be, am I happy in this?
Right.
You're going to get people who are codependent and narcissistic together, who are wounded, but they're really okay with it, and they don't really want any help. And then you've got other people that are really wounded and in pain, and they're not looking at their own part in it. So what I've learned to do is like, so I'm not happy here. So then what part of this dance am I responsible for? And that could be that I was, I'm just looking for love, or I'm looking for, I'm looking to be.
Narcissistic relationship? What part is what's my role in it?
Well,
narcissist friend. I am a target in the narcissistic relationship. I will not allow anyone I'm not taking any responsibility for none of that. I'm not saying the treatment, but I'm not taking responsibility for
absolutely. And it's not that I would take responsibility. It's just for me, it's being about protecting myself. So protecting my inner child, instead of saying, I want somebody at all costs. Relationship at all costs.
That's the problem. That wasn't really what it was for me. That codependency part, I don't know. Some people have that. The codependency, narcissistic relationship. And is that more common than is that a common type of relationship, narcissistic and codependent? Is that pretty common?
Yes, because they've both been wounded. In fact, I will find it, because I did make a post on this, and it's very relevant, because Sam actually said it, because the narcissist and the codependent have got the same strategy going on. So,
Oh.
which is fascinating.
Oh.
So they've got the same underlying. They're both. So right. So this Sam Macklin said this, and we're going to show. I'm going to show you his. So you know his YouTube channel, but I'm going to show you so that. And also, so he said that this is from one of his videos. He said the narcissist and the victim. He said the narcissist has learned as a child that he or she, that I don't want to just say it's, you know, the male species out there, that he or she can be loved only when they perform. The victim has learned that they can only be loved when they perform as a victim. So we can have victim mentality. I'm not saying this is everybody, but definitely I was taught to be a victim. I am a victim of abuse, and I just have to do as I'm told. And however sad a situation is, you stay in it, because if you're traumatized for many years as a child, it becomes normal, sadness and pain and not getting what you want. But he also says that both are performance based. So both the narcissist and the codependent, the victim, it's both performance based, and that and they both believe that love is conditional. So both are in some respects codependents, and they are both lacking. Narcissism, is a form of codependency, an extreme form actually of codependency, because the narcissist depends on his or her life for the attention of other people. Get it?
Okay. Can you show me the book?
It's not the book. It's from one of Sam's videos.
Oh, so okay. You just wrote the notes down?
I just wrote it down and posted it. The narcissist depends on his or her life for the attention of other people and input. And she has no internal environment. Everything comes from outside themselves. So my self-worth will come from somebody else. And that happens with the codependent. My self-worth will only come if you love me. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to think about that a little bit, because I don't know. I mean, I'll go back and look. Like you said, you did some inner child work and stuff, and I haven't had it. That's coming up pretty soon for me. I'm going to be doing some inner child work as well. So, I mean, maybe I can find some areas where the codependency, you can see some codependency in there. But I don't know. I tend to maybe I'm putting myself on a pedestal. Maybe I don't recognize that there is some codependency there. I'm not seeing it.
Well, it's another label. I mean, what we've got to be careful of, and I think this is with the whole of these words, with, you know, either narcissism or, you know, like, and I see on the social media groups, like, oh, he's a narcissist, and then people say, get rid of him. You know, not everybody can go no contact. You know, we have to, and also this is not just in relationship and intimacy. This is families, it's at work. So how are we going to deal with ourselves to evolve that bullshit that we're not in this deep suffering, and also we're not just cutting everybody's heads off and saying off with his head, get rid of him. Otherwise,
off with his head with the accent. Come on, do it again.
Well, you know, like I think it was the Queen in Alice in Wonderland. She'd say off with their heads, off with their heads. So I think that, you know, so then as we mature, we stop saying, oh, he hurt me and he's a narcissist, and it's like, hang on a minute, you know. So we mature into this, the feminine or the masculine, because men have this as well. You know, this is not just a one-sided situation going on. And, you know, and also I think, which is really important, the more we love ourselves, and as Pete Walker says in the Complex PTSD, as we reparent, like if I reparent that little Penelope, I hated that little child, this little Penelope, for years, because she was treated with such disdain and used and what's the word? I can't recall the word, but it's like you know, objectified. I was objectified as an object. So as an object, it's like I saw myself the way that I was treated. Right. That's what we relate to and then we have this inner critic that tells us, well, hear the parental voice, what's wrong with you, child? That's the biggest thing I heard as a child. And as an adult now, what would I say? What's wrong with you, child? What's wrong with you, child, is that you had two parents, one codependent, one narcissistic, loads of sadism thrown in, and you had no love or care. So what is wrong with you, child? So as we reparent the inner child, and men do this as well, the inner little Penelope, who I love and adore. So as an inner father and an inner mother, and I reparent her, I'm not gonna let her get away with things that are painful for her, and I'm not gonna allow her to be in pain, and I'm not gonna mistreat her. As you would love your child, Gracie. You've got a child. I haven't got a child, so you could probably do a better job at this than I could.
And it's funny that you just said that, because I'm gonna try and see if I can show. Will it show? Let's see.
I can sort of see.
It's a picture of a little boy, right? And I'm gonna read the meme. It says, "Perhaps if tearful, I hate that word. Perhaps if tearful little boys were comforted instead of shamed, there wouldn't be so many angry men struggling to empathize with emotions." That's what the meme says.
This is huge. And I see, what I see some really beautiful men who have not, their mothers have not allowed them to detach. So there's almost where there's either been abuse, or because the over-adulation of a child is also the other side, where you make the child into the prince, the little king, and that's not healthy either. People have to watch for that, particularly people that have been through abuses, to think that they're going to make the child the golden child, because the golden child ends up with all of these adult problems and has no empathy. They can't, they think that you're the provider for them. Go for it. Tell me, you've got a child.
Yeah, I've been exposed to two male narcissists back to back, and the only two that I would ever God forbid, but I'm just saying, now that I'm aware, it's a little easier to pick up on the flags and stuff. But the first narcissist was, I would say, overt, right? And he was
covert.
He was overt.
Okay.
He was overt, and he is he was one of those praised, over-adulated type of children, one of those real cocky ones, because he was overpraised, maybe the golden child or something like that, it's something along those lines, where he was the prince, the golden, the golden duke, the golden prince. And then my ex-husband, the second narcissist who came along, was more covert. So he was more I wouldn't say abused, but more traumatized child, what I'm saying? So like, I had to experience two different types of narcissists. I don't know from facts. I'm just going from opinions from based on information that I've picked up on along the way, be in relationships with these, with these guys or whatever. So I can kind of pick and, choose which ones will fit where, but
absolutely. But wait, this is the thing. We've got symbols, we've got words. This is being human. So we have to come to some conclusion. And, it's great. We've got people like Sam and Tudor you introduced me to. Can you tell me about the guy on YouTube, but Tudor, do you want to tell me a bit about that?
That's my HG. I like HG too. I like HG and Sam. And then there's a couple more narcissists who self-proclaimed narcissists or diagnosed narcissists who have YouTube channels, and I follow. I can't remember the other two or three, but I know Sam Vaknin and I know HG Tudor. And HG, I've spoken to him as well too, a number of times, like over email or whatever. Because when he comes, like the way he describes like a narcissist and narcissistic behavior, he explains narcissism from just like Sam does, from the front lines. You know what I'm saying? Someone who is a narcissist, who has experienced this abuse and who has become the narcissist. So people that are trying to give information or trying to, I'm not saying that they don't care and they're being, they're just frivolously throwing information out there. They're just trying to get they're just trying to share their story. But when I studied, and when I start actually analyzing Sam and HG, it made more sense. Everything that I've been trying to finally close this gap I've been trying to close, finally made sense to me by listening to one of HG Tudor's videos. And this one right here is a little sticky note. I keep it on my dresser. He says, anyone who has repeatedly abused you never could have loved you.
I agree with that. And you know what? You said that to me, and I have to tell you, it was like a moment for me where I was repeatedly abused as a child. So the people who repeatedly abuse you don't love you. So when we go into trauma, the fight response, right? That's not repetitive abuse. So what we really are looking for is, because we can all be a bit of an asshole sometimes. Like we can say, we can all have a little moment where we flip. But if somebody's completely on a cycle of flipping, and they're completely abusing you on a regular cyclical basis, there is a problem. It's not okay.
not okay.
It's not okay. And this is what we're looking for. It's not difficult to figure out, you know?
Yeah, and the thing I like about HG's videos, okay, here's the thing. Okay, HG's videos are short, sweet, and to the point. Sam Vaknin's videos are elaborated. It's kind of the same storyline, so same context, same theory, but it's, you know, it's stretched out into this whole elaborate type of discussion. And I mean, I like them both because sometimes I don't have the patience to listen to a 50-minute video from Sam. Yeah. Sometimes I just need the quick fix. And I'm like,
a quick hit.
Yeah, quick hit. Yeah, let me hit that blunt, you know.
I'm going to show you actually. So for people out there, this is, can you see the screen, Gracie? You can see this. This is Sam Vaknin. He's a professor. He uploads every day since lockdown. He's been, you know, this guy is brilliant. You know, so I would suggest, I mean, I've watched some brilliant stuff I'll probably watch one later. I do this more for educational purpose to share. I'm not doing it for sitting here, you know, just because we've got to move on at some point. But if we can understand this stuff and help people, it's really, really useful. The other guy was what was his name? Tudor.
HG. I need to watch this one right here. It's HG Tudor.
Yeah, let me see HG. There we go. Just so people can see, so they know where they're heading. Because what we don't want to do is be listening to people that are just going to say, you know, get rid of them, go no contact. We need to understand what's going on. We don't just one-liners, because those one-liners are like the spirituality that says, oh, just let it go. You know, it sends
you in circles and it leaves you more and more confused, and you never actually get a resolution. These guys are actually giving me resolutions. I mean, it makes I mean, for real. I mean, I don't love them, but I like them, you know, like I appreciate them. I mean, you know, and I would love to, you know, it'd be awesome if we can get them on one.
I think so. I think so too. I mean, I think Sam's been sharing with a few females of late because of the lockdown. He's got because he's a professor in this subject.
Oh, right. Yeah. And he can't actually go out and about. I think
so this is, so you guys out there, so these are the people that we're referring to. And then if I stop share, and then there was something else which was really interesting here, which was, I wanted to look at this, because if we go back to 1875, we had Carl Jung was born, and he was to do with Freud. So Freud was born in 1850, Carl Gustav Jung was born in 1875, and we know that narcissism is not a new thing. You know, it's not like, it's just, you know, it goes back to, you know, I would even say, you know, and this may disturb people, that, you know, if you look at the Bible and the idea that Christ was crucified, I like the idea of Jesus. You know, I'm not religious, but I like the idea of the archetype of what Jesus stood for, in that if we look at certain stories, like in the temple, he turned over the tables because it seemed to me he was dealing in a temple where people were being narcissistic and money orientated in a holy space. And he said, you know, to hell with this stuff, you know, it's like, and he turned the tables. So
that's where turning tables comes from, huh?
Yeah. So that Jung, and this is an article that I'll put below the video, but what was pleasing to me, well, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but not features of narcissism, which you can look at for yourselves. And we don't really want to be diagnosing people. What we want to ultimately be doing is healing this stuff in ourselves so that we don't get into painful situations. The interesting thing, what is significant for us to know about, which is really important to understanding narcissism, is that for both personal and collective reasons, we need to be aware of narcissism, and that narcissism is an epidemic. On the personal level, it is very likely that we see and or deal with narcissism daily, social media, advertising, reality shows, among friends and family. Given the popularity and seeing, you got that word there? I'm great with words. Ubiquity, I think it says. These days of the cell phone, many of the younger generation are manifesting some of the traits of narcissism. You know, where their mobile phone becomes more important than anything else. You know, we've got to make sure we're not allowing this to manifest in children. The self-absorption, the lack of empathy. TV shows like The Apprentice, Survivor, I don't know when this article was written, but The Real World San Francisco have presented narcissistic characters. YouTube, MTV present us with narcissistic images. And why does this matter is the question. Because many people, especially young people, take their cues and their values from such programs. In the absence of parental guidance and adult modeling of non-narcissistic behavior, Jung, who was born in 1875, died in 1961, would remind us that narcissism is a pathology, i.e. a disease, a form of illness that compromises, beautifully, it compromises the quality of life. It is not something to which we should aspire, but rather a phenomenon which we should condemn. I love that.
I mean, oh my God, no, that is beautiful, beautifully written. Yeah, and as you were talking, you mentioned how, narcissism goes back, I mean, from the beginning of time. I personally
have
like
narcissistic dinosaurs.
narcissist, I'm saying?
I'm having you for dinner, my lovely. A sadistic narcissistic
dinosaur. No, but like
you around, hey?
But I mean, and what I'm about to say might kind of offend some people, but I mean, I at the same time, I got to get it out. I don't personally like, applaud kingliness and queenship or whatever.
You were talking about that.
Cool on that. I don't want to be called the queen, because the queen was the queen of a narcissist who the queen became a narcissist because she's with a narcissist. So obviously, I mean, being in this huge castle, like, say like the ruler of the land, of a country. Yeah. I'm being sarcastic.
No, it's great, because we were playing it out here in real life, the king and the queen, or the queen. Yeah.
I mean, literally, like, and even chiefs of tribes and stuff like that, and all of these people who are held such a high esteem, that don't really look out for the poor or the needy, or they can kill somebody at a any given time for no reason.
Isn't this the reflection of now, like, with war and just the whole, how smart are we? It seems to me we're quite barbaric with a few technical things and electricity. We just seem, there's barbarism, there's the trafficking, there's the pedophilia, there's the online presence. One of the biggest searches online is it's pornography. You've got married men who are friending pretty women, single women on social media, and there's all of this,
okay.
Tinder, all of these different aspects where we really have, like, it's almost a discarding, a throwing away of people. Here's what, it's not we're not healthy.
No,
we're not. It's selfishness, to not think about other people's feelings and not be a doormat.
Yeah.
But even where parents and with the Bible and honor thy mother and father, it's appropriately. It's this is.
Bought you, baby. I just bought my son a shirt that says "Respect your mother" on it. It's so cool.
Yeah. Or Mother Earth. I mean, on the aspect of respect your mother.
Respect your mother.
Absolutely. But look, it's the earth. You've got a picture. The O is the earth.
Yes, it's beautiful, isn't it? Walmart.
That is mother. It is the earth, isn't it? The T-shirts. That's the earth.
Yeah.
The mother is earth. The mother is an archetype. Not everybody who gives birth is a mother.
Thank you. Because I was adopted, so my mom was a great. So I mean, I give props to my mother, because she didn't have to, and my father, they didn't have to adopt me. So
wow.
I'm happy. I got lucky. My God gave me a good family. Thank you.
That's really beautiful. That's really beautiful to hear, because that's the other aspect where I was in children's homes where there was sexual violation, and I'm just bringing up the case to in the UK on that. I'm bringing it up now because I'm ready to bring that up. And it was but it's interesting that and this is not standing up for, it's standing up for others. And also I've got to a point where when I used to tell people this stuff, I was so shamed and so like sort of like hiding, because I was so full of shame. I've got nothing to hide, nothing, no shame. I've got healthy.
I have a hashtag. I'm telling. That's my hashtag.
What's your hashtag?
I'm telling.
I'm telling. Okay, that's a good hashtag.
Hashtag I'm telling, because I'm telling on everybody. I don't care. I'm snitch, bitch. Call me what you want. I'm telling on you. I'm telling on you. I'm telling on you. That is not okay. I am one of those people I came out the gate just telling on people. Like, that's not, because being mistreated and being, you know, like, I'm not saying, I mean, everybody's case is different. So, I mean, no offense to, you know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
Everybody's
understand
case
some
is
things more
different.
sensitive than others, but I mean, in this case, I was like, no, I was so irate that I went straight to the books, and I went straight to my computer and started writing a script. I made a whole movie about my relationship with my ex-husband, and I mean, I wrote a movie, I produced the movie. It's on YouTube.
I'd love to see that. So can we put the link below that movie, below our video when we upload that as well?
Yeah.
So you know, the interesting, so then we have I will look at that, and we can maybe I've watched that movie and we can do another video on this as well, but we're not going yet. We've got also the other thing is, so again, we're coming back to the healing. It's like, how am I not going to keep experiencing this same stuff? I'm going to have to look at my own complex PTSD. You know, I've done that. I had 2 years trauma psychoanalysis. That was very useful to me, talk therapy, because I needed to. The beautiful thing about therapy is that you learn to bond. So if you've really not had a healthy bond in childhood, like a secure bond, what you learn in proper therapy, you know, is not, you learn to have a healthy bond. But clearly, we've got some therapists who are going to be narcissistic as well. So make sure that you interview your therapist. Do not think that there are no quick fixes in this world. You know, it doesn't matter. I tried NLP, I did something called Faster EFT. You know, I did all of these different modalities, and reading spirituality, thinking I was going to be solved and fixed. I did a course in miracles. I've never seen anything so narcissistic in my life as a course in miracles. The first lesson of a course in miracles, get this, nothing I see means anything. Now, who wrote that? Because if that's your first lesson, that nothing. So, as an abused child, what was I being taught? Nothing I see means anything. You just performed. You get what I'm saying here?
Got objectified.
You get what I'm saying? So if I then believe, like through a course in miracles, for instance, and I'm not knocking anybody out there who's doing it. We all go our own path. I did it, you know, but it doesn't make me special. And there's, you know, we've got to remove the grandiosity around all of these ideas, like, you know, I'm a Christian, or I'm, you know, I'm this, or I'm, you know, a CEO of all of the narcissism, because we're all born and we're all going out the same way, you know, not all the same way, but we're all leaving this space at some point. So there is no, all of this hierarchy it's a load of nonsense. So I'm glad really that a lot of that's dropped off for me.
Yeah.
You know, I can't really be impressed. It's like, I don't, you know, you're, you know, Beyonce or you're whoever or whatever. It's like, I'm really not, you know, I'm not, oh, I know so and so. It's like, well, you know, who cares? It's like, I'm done with that stuff, you know. I just want to feel, you know, grounded and safe in my being, and be loving as where I can, you know, not doormat loving, but, you know, healthy and have some good, healthy people around me.
Did you do some what is it called?
Psychoanalysis.
What is that?
Psychoanalysis is really trauma psychoanalysis. They're different type of analysis, but that would have been Jung. He with Freud. And I think you had a guy in America called James William in the late 1800s who was to do psychoanalysis as we know it today. Is Freud, Jung, and various others. And then we have people like Bowlby who they looked at attachment theory. So when we look at our attachment style, it sounds like, I'm not saying it's for real, but it sounds like the way you spoke about your adoptive parents, that you had a secure attachment, which is healthy. So as an adult, when you've come across some narcissism, you've been able to go, hey, I'm not doing this. Whereas if you have avoidant attachment, or you have you know, fearful attachment, fearful avoidant. I mean, I would have been a fearful avoidant, or, you know, fearful. So, and then we meet people as adults, we will get involved with some. It's not that we get involved with somebody. I don't believe in all of this attracting stuff like the law of attraction.
I don't believe in that crap either. I'm sorry.
I'm done with that and the law of attraction.
I'm like, really though? Oh man.
You attracted that. It's like, go to hell. It's like, I attracted that.
Oh, that's right. I have been saying that for the last 5 years. I'm like, I don't know how anybody could say the law of attraction. You attract, you get what you. I mean, I know what I dreamed of. I know what I hoped for. I know all of these beautiful things that were. I was the happiest person on the planet when I met my ex-husband. I had everything going for me. I was becoming a big shot all around the world. I had so many radio shows and stuff. I was doing the thing, you know. So for him to come in my life and I say I attracted that, like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna. I refuse to the law of attraction. Y'all can go somewhere.
I think it is. What happens is that shit happens. So we're born, you know, some people would say that, you know, I chose that childhood, that even in evolutionary astrology that we do, there are astrologers that believe that profoundly that I chose that. I do not believe that to be true.
Islam, and actually in Islam, if I'm not mistaken, because I was Muslim for 5 to 10 years. I can't remember. I quit so quick. I was like, I'm done. But I was Muslim, and I remember
you were Muslim, did you say? You were Muslim?
Yes, I was Muslim, and they used to say that, you know, you choose your parents. And I'm like, I don't know how that would work, because how could a child choose an abusive parent? Like that.
And how do we know that to be true? And we don't even know, even if we like the idea that there are past lives or other lives, we don't actually know. So we've got to, you know, I'm sort of the mind to be very grounded in what is, you know, what's in front of me right now. And even with astrology, it's symbolism. So it's not, planets aren't doing anything to us, you know, it's just an idea of using some sort of divinity or whatever. What the moon means, the moon is real. I mean, definitely, if we look out at the night sky, the moon exists, does it not? The sun exists.
I believe what I see, you know, I'm not, I mean, you know what I mean? I'm like you said, I'm like here and now. I can't go off of some past theories or some book that says, I mean, I may pick up, like we were saying yesterday on the phone, I'll take, you know, bits and pieces from different cultures, different religions, different traditions, and I'll take what I resonate with, and I'll kick the rest away. Like there's some things I keep about Islam that I continue to practice. There's some things with Christianity that I practice. There's some things with tarot card reading that I keep, like zodiac signs, you know, all the narcissism community, all of the teachings, all that stuff. There's a lot of things that I keep, but then I discard the rest, because if it doesn't resonate with me, then I mean,
so with Christianity, you know, where we say, you know, like to have faith. I mean, to have faith is very useful, you know, not stupid faith, but to sometimes when we're in a low, to just have faith that, you know, that is, and the connection with God. Like, I'm not religious, but I do feel there's something in me that's very in here, that's grounded to something that's a sense of power. So I do believe there's something maybe bigger, but I couldn't define what it is. And I don't know if I'm coming back or if I've been here before, even if I think, oh, you know, I've got this. Who knows?
I don't know. Nobody, I don't know why people always say that type of stuff, man. I like you said, narcissistic, and just, I mean, I don't know. I think because people are so searching for some answers that they just kind of create their own thing. I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Here I've got this is the mythology of Narcissus. So this is very old stuff. And what's so this is beautiful. So there was Echo and Narcissus. So you see the picture here.
Mm-hmm.
This is 1800s, 1903. So if we go way back,
face, so beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Cute. I'm just kidding.
So the article is that, you know, so here's Narcissus looking at his own reflection, and he's like, this is what we're doing now with the cell phones, aren't we? We're going, hey, you know, I'm so beautiful.
Yeah, the selfie.
Bit of filter here and there. And then so Echo was trying to get Narcissus' attention, but it was only an echo because Narcissus could never hear her. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And they both shriveled and died in the end. This is so Echo and Narcissus, but you know, so the mythology is it's a myth. It's Ovid's Metamorphoses, a Roman mythological epic. And if you actually think, I mean, the Roman Empire was extreme narcissism, where they were, you know, they would have them, they were throwing people out to the lions, you know, and making them,
make them walk the plank, and then make them burn witches alive, and you know.
Yeah.
I'd
be well gone now, you know.
They say they killed all the firstborn sons when they were trying to kill Moses. I mean, that was like, really, you kill all the children to kill all the firstborn sons? You guys are psychopaths. So oh my God, that is so evil.
And in the 60s, you know, they were doing this in China, like the girl babies, they were getting rid of them, you know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if we look, so the introduction to the myth of the mountain nymph Echo into the story of Narcissus, the beautiful youth who rejected Echo and fell in love with his own reflection, and appears to have been Ovid's intention. Ovid's version influenced presentation of the myth, so that, you know, the myth is very powerful in our society, as you know. Like, where were you said with the king queen idea, and what part of Africa would you say with the chief?
And all of the, I mean, like you said, I mean, all of the even tribes. I mean, I also consider tribes to be like narcissistic because I mean, it's just like Bloods and Crips. It's like I'm better than you. I'm better than you. You know what I'm saying? It's like gang members and
Isn't
stuff.
politics the same?
Tribes are gang members. I don't know why we can't just all be one people. Why we have to compete against each other because we're from the. I don't. It just doesn't make sense. And then the king, queen, kind of all of those old days. Even today, there's a queen today who lives in a palace. I mean, you know, you hey over there, you know,
No, I know it's comical. You know, and she lives in this big space.
For her to be, I mean, like it's just I don't understand how the queen and the king and how they get put so high up on a pedestal and leave everybody else out to dry.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and I think that the thing is that you know through what's happened is I mean you know that my first mobile phone was 30 years old. So pre that, we didn't have the Google and all of this information. So the more information we've gotten, I'd actually say that Google is actually my real boyfriend, to be honest with you. I would say that, you know, really that we're getting to a point that you sensibly are not just pointing the finger and saying, and I saw this happen with Trump, and I'm not going into politics because I know nothing about it, but I see it here in the UK as well, where everybody's saying he's a narcissist. He's, you know, let's blame one person. They did this with Christ, you know, the idea of Christ, you know, they put him on a cross because of the belief systems. And then, you know, apparently he died and then he rose after 3 days and then they put him, you know, so that whole, we're running on stories that are so outdated and so
romanticized. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're romanticized. They're gaslighting is what they are. They're putting mixed stories in your head. They're giving you word salad, swinging words around just to keep you freaking lost. Like it's evil.
Yeah, and the Disney stories, you know, like you know, just the Disney stories over the years as well. You know, I think maybe they're getting a little bit better. I've seen a few as an adult.
Yes, you know, the freaking, I'm glad you said that too, because the fairy tales, I mean, the first narcissist I told you about that I was mentioning earlier, he would just say this because he's from Africa, and he would always say that he didn't understand how the Americans believed in the fairy tale and how you know, the young girls were raised to, you know, to believe in some fairy tale of Prince Charming, and to this day it stands to be true, you know, because like we hope for some magic to just happen, you know. And
the knight in shining armor to come and save us from.
We need to stop telling our girls is like freaking don't depend on a guy. Not that you can't depend or rely on
on each other.
Yeah, in each other. But I'm saying
interdependence, but not like you
know, like you don't look for validation from someone else. And another thing that I can't stand that is so outdated as well is how, you know, culturally, you know, it's you get married, you have babies, you blah blah blah, you know, and no one ever tells a woman to get married to make sure her husband loves her, to make sure he respects her, to make sure he's dignified, to make sure he has integrity, to make sure he's not a narcissist. You know what I'm saying? Nobody tells the woman to stand your ground, stand up, stand on your own 2 feet. You know,
have sort out some resources for yourself. You know.
Yeah, you know, like they just tell you to get married. They don't say, you know,
because a man can walk away. A man, as we know, a man can get a woman pregnant and just leave. It's like, you know, whereas a woman's left with the baby. So we have to be a bit more discerning of our value and worth. And in fact, I'll come back to that because that's interesting that I brought that up there, because I'm going to go back to this, which is really important, that for the feminine and the men as well, not just this. A sense of self-worth is necessary for us to protect ourselves. So if we've had a battered sense of self-worth, whether it be from childhood or society, we need to start looking at our sense of self-worth, all of us, not just the feminine. You know, the men as well, because there are good men in the world, you know, that are being, you know, bashed by this whole system as well.
I have a couple of male friends of mine who have been in narcissistic relationship with women. And I mean, it's saddening because, you know, these are some of the nicest guys out there. You know, I'm like, God, they're so nice. You know, it's like they always say the nice guy ends last or whatever. It sucks because it's kind of true, you know, because we're always trying to heal somebody else or
trying to make a relationship that really doesn't work, like that really is just not, you know, productive, and really trying to fit a square peg into a round hole or a round, you know, trying to make it, well, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to make him love me. I'm going to make him, you know, it's like, forget it.
there's a narcissism group or whatever, and I posted something on there and said, and I had like a little meme and something that said, what was it that finally made you leave? And what it was for me was realizing that he would never change, realizing that he's never going to
see is what you get.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, he's never going to change. He's never going to be accountable.
Yeah.
That's what I believe, is realizing that he will never take accountability for his actions. That's when I was like, you know what? Everything is gone. And then another thing was I was becoming insane. I was actually like,
yeah, it can make you sick.
Oh my God, I was losing myself. My cousin, my cousin, she said this to me when I was married to my husband. She said, Nikki, she calls me Nikki. She said, Nikki, who the fuck are you? You know, and she knows me from childhood. So she's like, who the fuck are you? And I'm like, you know what? And when she said that, it validated how I felt, because I felt different. I knew I wasn't the same person anymore, and I couldn't recognize myself. And when she said it to me, I was like, oh my God, thank you for telling me that. I thought I was tripping.
We need, so, exactly. And this is from one of Sam's videos, which I really liked as an idea. Now, it may sound really heavy to some people when I read this or when we look at this together, Gracie, but this was on a video from a few days ago. He wrote it below one of the videos. Okay. So, you know, he really suggests looking at this. So one of his top tips is loving ourselves. So number one, you can do one, and can you see it as well, clearly? I'll do one and you do two. Let's share this. I will treat myself with dignity and demand respect from others, and I will not allow anyone to disrespect me. Now, what's wrong with that? There's nothing. This is how we, you know, I will not allow anybody to disrespect me.
I have that on my mirror on a sticky note.
Okay. Do you want to read two?
Yeah, it says, I will set clear boundaries and make known to others what I regard as permissible and acceptable behavior and what is out of bounds. Real talk.
Yeah. Number three, I will not tolerate abuse and aggression in any form or guise, and I will seek to terminate such misconduct instantly and unequivocally. Go on.
I hate that word.
4,
I will be assertive and unambiguous about my needs, wishes, and expectations from others. I will not be arrogant, but I will be confident. Thank you. I will not be selfish and narcissistic, but I will love and care for myself.
So that's the inner child work, because the minute we begin to really tap into taking care of her, being the mummy and daddies to our inner child, then we will naturally save her, like, you know, look after her and make sure she's brushing her teeth and eating and doing all of the things, and also protecting her from people that are not, you know, completely, you know, authentic and caring. Number 5, I will get to know myself better. Now that's it. That's the shadow work which Carl Jung spoke on. I will get to know myself better. It's like, instead of going looking for a man, let's just all get to know ourselves better. Thank you, COVID. We have an opportunity here.
For real. I will treat others as I want them to treat me. Then that's one of my foundation. I have like a list of foundations. That's one of them. I will try to lead by way of self-example. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And number 7, if I am habitually, now we come back to this, what you said about the habitual because we can all be assholes here and there. You know, we can be tired, we can be unwell, we can be grumpy, you know, we can get a parking ticket and be a bit like or whatever. But overall, if there's a cycle of abuse, it's like, please, let's just wake up. Okay, it's like, let's just watch what's going on out there. So if I am habitually disrespected, abused, or if my boundaries are ignored and breached, I will terminate the relationship with the abuser forthwith. 0 tolerance and no second chance will be my maximums of self-preservation. So let's be sensible with this. But, you know, for those that think, oh, is that what I've got to do? I've got to do that. I've got to just cut it off. You know, think for yourself. You know, I'm not a professional in this. You know, there are people that talk about this, but we're all human beings having an earthly experience. So nobody's got all the answers. You know, there is no manual out there that's, you know, we're going to follow, because sometimes somebody might be a bit narcissistic, but actually it may be childhood trauma and they may be working on themselves. Yeah. Sometimes there's just a really shitty dynamic between two people.
Yeah.
You know?
It just work. And then, that just doesn't work.
And then we're trying to hold on to it. I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make this work. So, you know, there's so much beautiful work out there to do. I think we've really covered a lot of ground today. I really enjoyed our chat.
Yeah, me too. You know, I don't know. I never had a chance to talk to you in person. I mean, face to face, like we talk on the phone, but this is really cool. So
it's cool. We'll do it again. We've got more to say. So, and I like the angle that we're coming from is not like, you know, go no contact, get rid of the, you know, just this repetitive, you know, let's look at what we're doing and our
Let's
part.
find something. Like, yeah, we need new information. We need new videos out there, new content, and the videos that we're getting out right now. Not that they don't matter, because they really do matter, and
they help me. You know, I can't deny it. Help.
No way. But I mean, right now, you have to continue to evolve. And I mean, in 5 years of me studying all of this, I mean, I feel like I'm at a place where I need some new information.
Well, I feel like I can breathe, you know, now for the first time in my life.
Me too. After watching Sam and HD Tutor, yeah, here we go.
What I wanted to do, actually, I'm going to stop sharing. I wanted to share screen, but I was sharing the wrong thing. And it was Wetiko, which was the American Indian belief system. What am I doing? Oh, right. I see what I'm doing here. Are you getting a full screen there?
Yeah.
Let me just stop share again and make sure I come back into that, because I hate it when I go into a screen and I'm not showing the whole thing. Yeah. So I'd like if you know, that you look at the word Wetiko. It's you know, we have a mind virus. The biggest virus in this world is narcissism. It is, you know, it's selfishness and capitalism, and we really need to be looking at that. This wasn't actually the one I wanted to share.
I know exactly which one you want.
Yeah, and I can't see it here, so I did have it. Maybe actually. Want
me to send it to your Facebook Messenger?
Well, let me see, because I think that Wetiko, meaning of Wetiko, I had it and I brought it up. Wetiko, the mind virus. Let's see if I come up here. It wasn't that one.
The spelling Wetiko, there it goes, right there. But that's the audio book. Let's see.
Yeah, but it was Paul Levy who brought up this idea. So it's a shame, but we can, because it was a really good article. Maybe if I see narcissist, I'm just looking. No, I think maybe we'll leave it there for today. But if we can look up the word Wetiko, we'll bring that up again, because Paul Levy's book has really blown my mind on that. That you know, we're all hosts to this stuff. We want to get to the point where we're not so much pointing the finger.
Touch on that one, actually. If you have time, I'm sending it to you now. I really do want to make sure we get into that. I mean, can you feel like you have a little time for it, or you got to get ready to head?
Let me see. Did you send it to Facebook? I
sent it to Messenger. Yeah.
Let me just see then, because it's always, hopefully we're not confusing everybody out there.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. I get it.
You know, so jumping backwards and forwards, but I think that it's really interesting subject. So we will just finish off with this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this page, and then I'm going to close that, and then I'm going to go back to here. This is what I'm doing. We're nearly with you guys. So hang on a minute. We're going to go new share.
When are you going to
go here? Okay, so this one, can I accept? There you go. Yeah, so breaking the curse of it. So Paul Levy, an astrologer friend of mine, Michaela, I do two videos with her a month on the new moon and full moon, and she's brilliant. She lives in Bordeaux, France. She's a brilliant evolutionary astrologer of many years and understands psychology. She told me to get this book called Dispelling Wetiko, and it blew my mind. I bought it on Audible because I didn't, you know, I don't always have the time to read things, so sometimes Audible is just far easier for me. And it blew me away on what this gentleman talks about, and that, you know, really what COVID is allowing us to really look at our own selfishness. It's humbled us, you know, how we're not going back to some normality, and things might get a bit worse for a while, you know, because we can see that we're being pushed into rules and regulations, and we haven't got the full picture of even what this whole virus is. But from an evolutionary point of view, it's very timely that we've been sent to stay at home, kids, stay at home, do your inner work. And some people are stuck in really tricky situations in this, you know. You can see this, like this image here, like, you know, the depiction of the, you know, the patriarchal rulership of narcissistic rulership that squashes us and doesn't allow us to have free speech, you know.
Yeah.
So this is a deep article. Can we look at this and maybe on another video that we will do, you know, maybe next month? That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because it's very deep. So he says,
yesterday, and I sent them a very, very long email.
On there.
Yeah.
So let's take a bit. If we take a bit here, sorry, I'm interrupting you as well, Gracie. With Wetiko disease, we are not being infected by a physical objectivity existing virus outside of ourselves, which is why there is really nothing outside of ourselves to be afraid of. Now, that's number one, something I've learned. There is nothing outside myself to be afraid of.
Right.
You know, ultimately, we're all coming and we're all going to be leaving. Yeah, and we have no control over that. You know, we have some control over that. We have some free will. The origin of the Wetiko psychosis lies entirely within the human psyche. The fact that Wetiko is the expression of something inside us means that the cure for it is likewise within us as well. Though not objectively existing, the Wetiko pathogen has a virtual reality such that it can potentially destroy our species. What is happening? And we are destroying our species. The fact that something that only exists as a function of ourselves can destroy us points us to the incredibly vast, invisible, yet mostly untapped creative power that is our birthright. You know, so we have to stop all of this blaming and shaming and say, hey, what is my part in this? And how am I going to evolve this? And who around me needs help with this knowledge?
Yeah.
We've done some beautiful work today.
Yeah, we did.
It's beautiful to have your son here as well within this, because we are, you know, look at the quality stuff he's hearing.
Oh, definitely. Oh, he's not unfamiliar to narcissistic talk. We talk about in the community all the time. I'm always educating my children on narcissism, so he's going to be very aware.
Well, it will help him in school, because, you know, again, in schools, you know, everybody's being told, put your head down, do as you're told, you know, and in society now with this whole virus thing, that's what we're being told. You know, wear your mask, do this, take the vaccine, you know.
Well, actually, in class yesterday, I think everything, even in school, I think they're evolving a little bit with the education system. Maybe because my son goes to a charter school. I don't know what they're doing in other public schools, but for my son, they were doing a video yesterday and they were going over, like, you know, what is anger? You know, what is anger like? You know, all of those emotional things. They're going over emotional stuff. Like, what does sadness look like? I mean, they're making them write it down or describe it so that they can understand for themselves, and then so that they, you know, so that they can, it could be an emotional, you know, socially, what is it?
Acceptable.
Socially, whatever the word is, there could be more.
You know, I think I get you. And I think the thing is that the beautiful thing about that is that if there is any abuse in the home, then it gives that child the opportunity in those moments to say, hey, I actually feel really sad. You know?
I didn't think about that. That's a great, yeah.
But that's the thing, you know, we come together with these things, and that, you know, none of us can do these things on our own. Like, you know, I can't share this stuff without having somebody to bounce it off. You know, me just sitting there on my own going, blah, you know, da, 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 da. It's like, it's meaningless. This is the real work. It's like, what is my experience? What is yours? And then it evolves into something new.
Exactly. And you both learn from each other. That's dope.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this today. I think we'll leave it there, and then we'll upload this, and we'll leave it on a beautiful note that we're going to come back and do more.
Well, can I say this last thing? I have another, it's funny that I have this podcast today, which is really cool, because I'm excited to be a part of your team, of your group. This is awesome. And then in the same week, I have another one coming up with a podcast called Through Our Eyes. And it's talking about generational curses versus lack of accountability. How much of your character are you responsible for? And that's the one. Brilliant. Coming up, and that'll be this Sunday, so that'll be a live one. So that's a podcast that I'm going to be.
What we can do, we can add the link. I can add the link also later after you've done that to this video that we're uploading to YouTube. So if people want to access that, they can listen to that as well. And of course, I want to listen to it too.
Thank you.
I'll leave it there, and then I'll catch you a little bit later on the other side. Okay.
Good night.
Okay. Good night. Catch you later. Thank you. Thanks. Bye bye.